NOAA just issued a fire weather warning for tonight, but that warning doesn't tell you what's really happening. 1.6 million acres have already burned in 2026, 231% above normal. Tonight matches the conditions the night an entire state exploded. Here's what's happening, and what's coming next. Right now, millions of people across Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas are under active fire weather alerts. Amarillo, Oklahoma City, Lubbock. These cities are inside the target zone tonight. This is the same southern high plains that erupted twice already this year. NOAA's Weather Prediction Center confirmed the threat in an official forecast issued yesterday. Dry air, gusty winds, humidity crashing below 20%. That combination is where a spark becomes an uncontrollable wall of fire. But here's the part the forecast doesn't print. Over 56% of the United States is currently in drought. That is confirmed by NOAA's Climate Prediction Center. Soil moisture across Texas, Oklahoma, and western Kansas is sitting below the 10th percentile, drier than 90% of all years on record. This isn't one bad spring. This has been building for years. Let's go back to the beginning of 2026. February was historic, not because of a blizzard, because it was too warm. February 2026 was the warmest February ever recorded in Oklahoma, the second warmest in Texas history, the third warmest in Kansas. NOAA's drought researchers point to the same underlying cause. 5 of the last 6 winters brought La Niña conditions to the United States. La Niña brings dry, warm winters across the southern tier. Year after year, the land dried out. Soil moisture collapsed. By the time February ended, the ground across Oklahoma, Texas, and western Kansas was bone dry. Fire season started before winter was even over. On February 17th, a wildfire ignited near a small town called Beaver, Oklahoma. Wind gusts hit 65 miles per hour. The fire erupted across the Panhandle grasslands. The Ranger Road fire burned 283,283 acres before it was contained. That's 442 square miles. Across Oklahoma and Kansas, hundreds of livestock died. Fences destroyed across 5 counties. The Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association set up an emergency relief fund. That was the largest U.S. wildfire of 2026 at the time, because then came March 12th. On the afternoon of March 12th, a wildfire ignited in Morill County, Nebraska. The Storm Prediction Center had already issued its highest fire weather rating that morning. Extremely critical. That designation is reserved for the most dangerous fire weather days on record. Within 12 hours, the Morill fire had traveled 70 miles across the prairie. By 9 p.m., NOAA's GOES-19 satellite was tracking it across 65 miles of burned ground. By the end of the week, it had burned 642,029 acres. The largest wildfire in Nebraska history. Its perimeter stretched 399 miles, almost equal to the entire land area of Rhode Island. The NIFC confirmed what drove it. Sustained winds of 30 to 65 miles per hour, gusts reaching 90 miles per hour, minimum humidity between 5 and 20%. At the same time, fires tore through Wyoming, Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, simultaneously, on the same afternoon. One rancher named Naomi Loomis drove home to find fire in her front yard, fire in the fields, fire in the trees. Her husband jumped in a loader and dumped dirt on the flames threatening their house. The house survived, but 4,000 acres of pasture did not. Nebraska public media reported her words. It's like a death. By March 31st, the National Interagency Fire Center released the national total. 1,615,683 acres burned in the United States, 231% of the previous 10-year average. Not slightly above normal, more than twice. And the drought underneath all of it keeps expanding. NOAA's Climate Prediction Center confirms over 56% of the country is now in drought. Extreme and exceptional drought has spread into South Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, South Georgia, and Northwest Colorado. This is the landscape underneath tonight's fire weather warning. NOAA's Weather Prediction Center issued its formal fire threat statement on April 19th. The target zone, the southern high plains and the southeast, Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle, western Kansas, and the WPC specifically stated the threat continues for the next couple of days. Tonight, if conditions develop as forecast, winds will gust between 20 and 30 miles per hour across the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles. Humidity will drop near 15% at peak heating. These are the same numbers that turned a single spark into a 642,000-acre fire in March. If a fire ignites tonight near Amarillo, it could push 30 miles before a single air tanker gets there. Rural routes through the Oklahoma Panhandle are not designed for mass evacuation. Power transmission lines cross the driest grassland in the country here. If fire reaches that infrastructure, outages cascade across hundreds of miles. And this threat isn't limited to the plains. NOAA is also flagging the Southeast, North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee. These states have been running abnormally dry for months. NOAA's Climate Prediction Center forecast above normal fire potential for the Southeast through April. That window is right now. Temperatures are running 20 to 30 degrees above the April average across the central U.S. WPC confirmed those anomalies through midweek. The fuel on the ground hasn't seen meaningful rain in weeks. But here's where the story gets more complicated. What's coming Thursday isn't just more fire weather. It changes the entire threat picture. Zoom out from tonight's warning for a moment. This fire weather threat exists inside a much larger story. NOAA's drought researchers have documented the pattern carefully. 5 of the last 6 winters delivered La Niña to the lower 48. La Niña strips moisture from the southern tier. Each dry winter left less for the next one. By 2026, the region had hit rock bottom, and fire season started in February. NOAA's spring outlook, released in late March, confirmed what forecasters feared. Drought is expected to expand across the west and parts of the plains through June. Above normal temperatures are favored across most of the southern and central U.S. The land will stay dry. That's the backdrop for what arrives Thursday. A major Pacific storm system is currently pressing off the coast of California. NOAA's WPC tracked it in the April 19th extended forecast discussion. By Tuesday, it enters the Great Basin. By Wednesday, it reaches the northern Rockies. By Thursday, it ejects into the plains. When it does, it collides with warm, moist air surging up from the Gulf of Mexico. NOAA's own meteorologists called it rich Gulf moisture in the official forecast discussion. When a cold front hits that kind of moisture, severe weather develops. Tornadoes, large hail, damaging straight-line winds. But here's what the individual warning bulletins don't show you. Before the rain arrives, there is a window, a final dry, windy window. Wednesday. The cold front is approaching, but the rain hasn't reached the plains. Temperatures still running 20 to 30 degrees above average. Winds building ahead of the system. No precipitation yet. This is when fire risk peaks. Meteorologists describe this as a loaded setup. All the fuel is in place. All the wind is in place. The only missing variable is an ignition source. And once the front sweeps through Thursday and the severe weather develops, the danger doesn't disappear. It changes form. Drought-hardened soil cannot absorb water quickly. When heavy rain falls on this kind of ground, it runs off into rivers, roads, low-lying neighborhoods. Flash flooding becomes possible in the same areas that just experienced fire weather. Some researchers call this a compound event. Multiple hazards layered on top of each other. Fire weather on the leading edge. Tornadoes and flooding on the trailing edge. A landscape weakened by months of drought underneath it all. NOAA is tracking every part of this, but no single warning captures the whole picture. That's the part they don't say. Here is what NOAA is tracking for the next 72 hours, tonight through Tuesday. Fire weather threat continues across the southern high plains and the southeast. Winds 20 to 30 miles per hour. Humidity dropping below 20% at peak afternoon heating. No significant rainfall arrives in this window. Simultaneously, NOAA's WPC has flagged California for a marginal risk of excessive rainfall tonight into Tuesday. A Pacific low is pushing onshore. The Sierra Nevada is expected to gain 12 or more inches above 7,000 feet. Winter storm watches are already posted there. Floods on one coast, fire on the other. Wednesday. The Pacific system moves into the Intermountain West. Gusty winds spread eastward into the plains ahead of it. This is the most dangerous 24-hour window of the week. Dry air, powerful winds, still no rain. A fire igniting Wednesday moves fast. Thursday into Friday, the system ejects into the plains. Gulf moisture surges northward. NOAA's WPC stated it explicitly in the April 19th forecast. Late week heavy rain and severe weather threats develop. Tornadoes possible. Large hail possible. Damaging winds possible. 3 developments to watch over the next 72 hours. 1. whether any significant fires ignite tonight or Tuesday in the southern high plains before precipitation arrives. 2. How quickly the cold front advances Thursday, and how violently it interacts with the Gulf moisture behind it. 3. Whether the southeast sees a major fire outbreak in the dry window before the storm system shifts east. If tonight's wind gusts exceed the current forecast, sustained above 40 miles per hour in the Panhandle, NOAA's fire behavior data suggests a fire there could outrun any ground suppression effort. That is the worst-case scenario for tonight. And if the low deepens faster than current models project, which NOAA's WPC acknowledged as possible in the April 19th discussion, Thursday's severe weather threat escalates toward a full-scale outbreak. Tornadoes, flash flooding, power outages, layered on top of whatever fires started earlier in the week. That is not speculation. That is the worst-case envelope described in NOAA's own official forecast discussions. Best case, no significant fires ignite before Wednesday's window closes. The front moves through quickly Thursday night. Rain arrives in the plains before Friday morning. Severe weather stays below outbreak threshold. NOAA updates these forecasts every 6 hours at WeatherGov. If you are in the Texas Panhandle, the Oklahoma Panhandle, or western Kansas tonight, know your evacuation routes now. Not when the sky turns orange. These fires do not give you an hour's notice. 3 things to remember. 1. Over 1.6 million acres have already burned in the United States in 2026. That's 231% of the 10-year average. The drought making this possible is still expanding. 2. Tonight's fire weather warning covers the southern high plains, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, the same region that produced 2 of this year's largest fires. Tonight's conditions closely match both of those events. 3. A major storm system arrives Thursday. Before it does, there is one more dangerous window of extreme fire weather, Wednesday. After it passes, the hazard shifts to severe storms, tornadoes, and flash flooding. Multiple threats, sequential, all on top of a drought that has been building for years. If you want to stay ahead of what's actually happening to the United States right now, subscribe. I post every time a major system develops. Coming next, the Merrill Fire. 642,000 acres in less than a week. How does a grassland fire travel 70 miles in 12 hours? And how many towns across the Great Plains have no wildfire evacuation plan for when it happens again? That video is on the screen right now. Stay safe,